They won't tell you this to your face. Most of the time, they won't even know it consciously. But people can feel when your energy is different. Heavier, clearer, more grounded, more intense. And they don't always like it. You walk into a room, and suddenly someone gets quiet. You speak your truth calmly, and people take it personally. You withhold your energy, and it's called arrogance. You share your light, and it's called too much. This is not a character flaw. It's not ego. It's aura. And according to Carl Jung, the moment you begin integrating your unconscious, when the fragmented parts of you are brought into harmony, something shifts. Not just in your thoughts, not just in your habits, but in your field. You stop leaking energy. You stop mimicking others. You stop shrinking to fit in. And whether you want it or not, you start radiating. This is what a powerful aura really is. Not some mystical cloud of light, but the psychological afterglow of a person who has made peace with their truth. But here's the part no one talks about. The moment your aura becomes powerful, your life will become complicated. Why? Because a strong aura exposes weak boundaries. It agitates those who are out of alignment. It draws in people looking for light, but not always ready to handle it. You become a projection screen, a trigger, a challenge, and sometimes a threat. Carl Jung wrote extensively about the tension between the self and society. He warned us that individuation, this deep process of becoming whole, would not be celebrated by the crowd. It would be rejected, because society prefers people it can categorize: malleable, predictable, safe. But when your aura gets strong, you become none of those things. You become an outlier. And the world doesn't always love outliers, especially when your presence makes others feel things they've spent years avoiding. They'll say things like, "You're intimidating. You think you're better. Something about you is off." But it's not that something is wrong with you. It's that something is activated in them. A powerful aura doesn't attack. It reveals. And not everyone wants to be seen that clearly. In Jungian psychology, this is the mechanism of shadow projection. When someone hasn't dealt with their own inner contradictions, their envy, their fear, their unresolved wounds, they unconsciously hurl it onto someone whose presence makes them feel. And a powerful aura? It makes people feel. More than your words. More than your looks. It's your energy that lingers. It's why people open up to you within minutes, or avoid you without a word. It's why some love you fiercely, and others resent you instantly. You're not imagining it. You're not too sensitive. You're just energetically awake in a world half asleep. But this power, this awareness, comes with its own pain. Because while you're busy embodying truth, you'll often be misread by those still living in illusion. And it hurts. It hurts to be misunderstood for simply being honest. It hurts to feel alone in your clarity. It hurts to constantly filter your expression so others feel comfortable. But here's where Jung offers something radical. He teaches that this pain is necessary. It's part of the crucible, the alchemical fire that forges the self. Because individuation isn't about fitting in. It's about becoming whole. And wholeness includes both light and dark, silence and power, joy and grief. When your aura strengthens, it doesn't just make you magnetic. It makes you real. And realness in a performative world, that's dangerous. Not because it harms others, but because it disrupts their illusions. That's the true danger of a powerful aura. It doesn't destroy. It clarifies. And not everyone wants clarity. So the next time you feel the sting of rejection, the misunderstanding, the distance that forms when you stand in your power, remember, you are not too much. You are not the problem. You are simply resonating at a frequency that some cannot yet hold. And that's okay. You're not here to be liked. You're here to be true. Because the aura isn't a decoration. It's not performance. It's not social capital. It's a signal, a vibration, a mirror. And the more you clean your mirror, through inner work, through shadow integration, through Jungian awareness, the more it reflects truth. That truth will attract those who are ready, and repel those who are not. Let it, because your job is not to dim. Your job is to remember who you are when no one is watching, to remember what you carry when the world forgets itself, to remember that your energy, your aura, is the proof that your soul is awake, and that is your greatest power. There's a quiet war that begins when you start radiating truth, not with weapons, not with words, but with vibration. And most people don't even know it's happening. They just feel different around you, triggered, challenged, seen. Because a powerful aura doesn't announce itself. It disrupts. And in Carl Jung's language, this disruption is not about dominance. It's about activation. Jung believed that when we begin integrating the unconscious, when the repressed, denied, and abandoned parts of us begin to rise to the surface, we don't just become more balanced. We become potent. We emit something, not just charisma, not just confidence, but a psychological resonance that others can't quite name. This is why some people will project admiration onto you, placing you on a pedestal, and others will project their insecurities, dragging you down without even knowing why. You'll be seen as a healer by some and a threat by others, a leader to a few and a heretic to many. Why? Because your aura speaks the truth that their ego can't bear to hear. And this is where it gets complicated, because it's tempting, when you feel this resistance, to shrink, to explain yourself, to soften your edges, to become more palatable. But Jung would warn against this. He would say that when you compromise your essence to keep others comfortable, you're not being kind. You're being dishonest. And dishonesty, especially to the self, is what weakens the aura. A powerful aura doesn't come from perfection. It comes from integration. It's not about becoming a flawless light being. It's about becoming whole. And wholeness includes the scars, the confusion, the grief, the rage. When you integrate all of it, when you stop pretending, performing, and pleasing, you emit something undeniable. Authenticity. And that, in today's fragmented world, is revolutionary. But it's also exhausting. Because authenticity demands boundaries. It requires you to say no when it's easier to say yes. It requires you to stand alone when the crowd is seduced by conformity. It requires you to be seen, not just for your light, but for your shadows too. And that's where most people falter. They want the glow of a strong aura, but not the loneliness that often comes with it. They want to be magnetic, but not misunderstood. They want to be powerful, but not persecuted. But the truth? Power will always be misread by those who lack it within themselves. Especially spiritual power, especially psychic clarity, especially the type of embodied presence that Jung called individuation, the rarest form of human maturity. When you individuate, you stop being a product of your environment. You stop echoing your family's wounds. You stop mirroring cultural scripts. And instead, you become yourself. Singular, strange, sovereign. This is where your aura becomes not just powerful, but uncontainable. And people will feel it. They'll feel it when you walk into the room and say nothing. They'll feel it when you set a boundary with love, not anger. They'll feel it when your presence alone silences the chaos in others. But don't mistake their reactions for truth. Their discomfort does not mean you're doing something wrong. It often means you're doing something rare. You're embodying integrity in a world built on performance. You're radiating coherence in a culture addicted to contradiction. You're walking as yourself when most are still trapped in their roles. And yes, this will scare people, because your energy calls out their masks, not by attacking, but simply by existing. And here lies your deepest responsibility. Do not betray your own clarity just because others are confused by it. Your job is not to make others comfortable. Your job is to remain congruent, even when misunderstood, even when alone, even when misjudged by those who haven't yet met their own shadow. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And that privilege comes at a cost. You will lose people. You will outgrow spaces. You will be labeled. But in exchange, you gain something unshakable. You gain presence. You gain peace. You gain power. Not the kind that dominates others, but the kind that illuminates them. If, and only if, they're ready. So continue radiating, even if it makes others squint, even if it stirs their defenses, even if they don't understand the language your soul now speaks. Because your aura is not here to be explained. It's here to be lived. And when lived fully, it becomes a beacon, not of superiority, but of truth. And truth is the most powerful vibration of all. Power is not always loud. In fact, the deepest kind of power, the kind that radiates from a person who has met their unconscious, wrestled with their shadow, and emerged more whole, is often silent. But its silence is deafening. This is why people flinch around those who carry inner gravity. not because they're dangerous, but because their presence reveals all the places we're still pretending. This is the hidden danger of a powerful aura. It doesn't just protect you, it exposes others. Not through confrontation, but through energetic reflection. Carl Jung warned us, the unconscious will always find a way to manifest, especially when ignored. And one of its favorite methods is projection. When someone carries unresolved shame, fear, envy, or guilt, and they haven't faced it in themselves, guess what happens? They project it onto you. And the more integrated you are, the more magnetic your aura becomes, like a psychic mirror people can't escape. They see themselves reflected in your presence. Not the self they show the world, but the one they hide even from themselves. It's terrifying, because when someone sees a person who is calm without trying to control, or confident without arrogance, or clear without cruelty, it forces them to confront the reality that they, too, could be this way if they were willing to do the work. And most aren't. So instead of asking how you got here, they'll try to bring you back down. They'll mock your discipline, undermine your peace, dismiss your growth as luck or fake or delusional. Why? Because your aura challenges their story. The story that healing isn't possible. The story that suffering is noble. The story that power must come from pain or performance or manipulation. But you just being, prove otherwise. You are proof that clarity is possible, that healing is real, that power can be quiet, grounded, and humble. And that's what makes you dangerous. Not because you threaten them with harm, but because you threaten them with truth. Jung saw this dynamic play out not just in individuals, but in society. He wrote of how cultures resist those who individuate, how entire communities will exile the one who awakens, because that person represents what the collective has refused to face. And that's what a powerful aura does. It represents choice. The choice to stop hiding, the choice to stop blaming, the choice to reclaim your energy and use it with intention. But that choice comes with grief. You'll grieve the relationships that couldn't meet you anymore. You'll grieve the places that no longer feel like home. You'll grieve the version of you that had to die so this new one could be born. It's a sacred grief, and it carves space for something deeper. Sovereignty. This is the real power of aura, not attention, not charm, not manipulation, but energetic sovereignty. You stop leaking your energy to guilt, fear, shame, or people-pleasing. You stop bending to fit into rooms that diminish your spirit. You stop waiting for permission to be what you already are. And instead, you stand, not in defiance, not in arrogance, but in truth. And that truth does more than protect you. It invites others. It says, this is possible. You can come home to yourself. You don't have to dim your light to be safe. But be warned, this light will not be welcome everywhere. You will encounter envy. You will encounter sabotage. You will encounter tests, energetic, emotional, relational. Because the more powerful your aura, the more it attracts both resonance and resistance. So here's what Jung would have you remember. Do not fight the resistance. Do not chase the resonance. Just be the presence. When you do, your aura becomes not a shield, not a sword, but a signal to those who are ready, to those who are lost, to those who are waking up. They'll feel it before they understand it. They'll sense something safe, but wild. Something ancient, but new. Something gentle, but unshakably strong. That's the paradox of a truly powerful aura. It doesn't overpower. It reminds others who they were before the world convinced them to forget. Reminds them of a peace that doesn't perform. Reminds them of a strength that doesn't scream. And sometimes, that reminder will be too much. You'll be blamed, misread, misunderstood. But if you can stay grounded, if you can keep your frequency clean and your intention clear, something magical happens. Your aura becomes medicine. Not the kind that fixes others, but the kind that invites them to remember how to heal themselves. There's something you need to understand about being powerful in a world built on fear. It will always make you look strange. Too calm, too clear, too awake. You won't act like the others. You won't panic the way they do. You won't get pulled into chaos or conflict just because it's familiar. Instead, your stillness will feel alien. Because you're not reacting. You're responding. You're not fighting shadows. You're integrating them. And that kind of energy is rare. It's not a performance. It's not spiritual posturing. It's not aesthetics. It's earned through shadow work, through grief, through loneliness, through the slow, aching process of peeling away everything false so what's true can finally emerge. Carl Jung knew this journey well. Individuation wasn't a weekend retreat. It was a lifetime of wrestling with the unconscious, of facing your wounds, your projections, your inner tyrants, and in doing so, reclaiming the pieces of your soul that had been exiled. This reclamation doesn't just change your mind, it alters your field. That's what people feel when they meet you after the storm. Not ego, not pride, but clarity. They may not be able to name it, but they'll feel it. In your voice, in your eyes, in the silence between your words. This is the secret power of an integrated aura. It speaks on your behalf. It communicates before you do. And it attracts only what resonates with your current level of self-awareness. Which is why your old life won't fit anymore. You'll notice you can't stay in certain environments. Conversations feel hollow. Crowds feel noisy. Work that once felt safe now feels suffocating. This is not regression. It's realignment. Your aura has changed, and now it's cleaning house. Because powerful energy demands coherence. It won't let you linger in denial. It won't let you fake friendships, force relationships, or pretend your soul is satisfied with scraps. It will burn away what's inauthentic, even if it hurts, and it will call in what aligns, even if it terrifies you. This is the next stage of individuation, the phase Jung described as becoming what you are. Not what the world told you to be, not what trauma shaped you into, but what you were born as before the forgetting. That true self is the source of your aura, not your style, not your voice, not your habits, your being. When you live from this place, your energy stabilizes. It becomes less about intensity and more about integrity. You stop needing to prove your worth. You stop defending your truth. You stop trying to explain your presence to people committed to misunderstanding it. Instead, you become selective. Selective with your time, your attention, your access. Not out of superiority, but out of energetic stewardship. You've learned what it costs to ignore your intuition, to let unaligned people close, to stay small so others feel big. Now, you protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. Your aura, when fully owned, becomes a kind of psychic immune system. It repels what's false. It amplifies what's real. And here's where the real magic begins. You start transmitting truth, not as a preacher, not as a guru, but as a living, breathing example of someone who chose to become whole. People feel this. They may not understand it, but they feel it. Some will be drawn to it. Others will run, but none will remain unchanged. Your aura becomes a field of possibility, a reminder, a call. It says, there's another way to live. You can stop hiding. You can stop fighting. You can come home to yourself. And slowly, those who are ready will begin to orbit your energy, not for validation, but for reflection. Because when you stand in your light, you unconsciously give others permission to find theirs. This is the most dangerous and beautiful aspect of a powerful aura. It awakens, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's unwanted, even when it shakes the very foundations of someone's carefully constructed ego. That's not manipulation. That's magnetism. And it's the gift of those brave enough to do the inner work, to see themselves, love themselves, and finally be themselves. You're one of those people. Maybe you've known this for a while, or maybe you're just beginning to remember. Either way, your aura is not a burden. It is a beacon. And though the road ahead may still be lonely at times, it is yours. Walk it with courage. Walk it with clarity. Walk it knowing you carry a frequency few are brave enough to hold. And in doing so, you become something rare in this world. A lighthouse, for all the other souls still searching through the storm. Subscribe to the Awakened Compass and join our membership to unlock the full journey within.